It was a significant moment for Richardson, second-year quarterback seeing his first game action since suffering that season-ending shoulder injury last October. But he wasn't out there long, finishing just 2 of 4 for 25 yards, 1 rush for 1 yard. Afterwards, though, he spoke to our Stephen Holder about what it meant just to be back out there.
Just a bunch of happiness. I just took it all in. When I was out here warming up, I was just thinking about it. I'm blessed, to be able to come back, after my injury. Just being back out here with my teammates, it meant a lot to me.
With you back in the lineup, what do you think is the ceiling for this offense?
Man, I don't think there is one, honestly, because Coach Shane, he finds so many different ways just to get guys open, get guys the ball, and he's great at scheming against the defense. So, with the weapons we have, the guys we have, I don't think there's any ceiling. We just got to execute and just make it happen.
So again, the season was cut short, but in that limited time, Richardson was making plays. He scored 4 rushing touchdowns over his first 3 career games. That's the most of any quarterback in NFL history to begin a career. As promised, Tim's still hanging out with us. All right, so Anthony Richardson only had 2 drives worth of action in this game, but from what you saw, what did it tell you?
Yeah, I think it was still encouraging, Michael. You're right. Small sample size, once again, which we're accustomed to in the preseason. But I actually thought he saw things well. And I say that just because, on one pass play, the protection gets blitzed. He does a good job of getting the football out. And he doesn't complete it, but he was going to the right spot. He certainly wasn't, antsy with it. And so I think that, in terms of just seeing it, we have to remember, this is a guy that didn't start a ton of games in college, only started 4 games last year. And so with that, I think we still have to look at him as a young, developing player, even though we were encouraged by what we saw, just a year ago. So I thought he actually saw it well. I think it makes sense to play him in the preseason. And I think just getting him comfortable as you head into the season is the right move. And the Colts seem to be handling it the right way.
Yeah. I totally agree with that, and that's why I always try to highlight things that everyone can just see on TV, which is why I'm not a huge fan of doing some of these other clips where you need to really break down film, because I really want just the average Joe to be able to see what do I see in front of me. And right here, see if I can cue it up.
Finishing just 2 of 4.
The perfect example right here, I think it is. Right, he looks down the field, he's looking for his progressions, and then he finds his guy, boom. Now, it wasn't the perfect throw. It was slightly behind him, but it wasn't rushed, right? It wasn't scattered, and he was clearly looking. I don't think it was one of those things where he was just trying to look off the defense. He was looking down the field. It wasn't there, and he took what the defense gave him. And it's those little things that I think goes a long way. Because as much as Shane Steichen, who I think is absolutely brilliant, and I really think the Colts' motto needs to be, "In Shane we trust." Just trust the development of Anthony Richardson and this offense. And the more trust they have behind Shane Steichen and what he'll be able to do, the more success that they will have. And that is, to me, part of the problem with Anthony Richardson getting injured, is it delays that trust building. But you could even hear him say in his interview where he's like, Shane will be able to game plan and get guys open, especially with our weapons. And I think that's coming from, I don't think he's just saying that for the sake of saying that. I think that's coming from a place of understanding and respect for his coach, which I think is really, really, really important. Not every young quarterback has that luxury to have that. Sometimes they maybe say those things, but it's definitely just kind of, pandering to the media, pandering to the team, right? It's just kind of lip service, honestly. That's not what Anthony Richardson is and the Colts. So he's going to make some of his mistakes. He's going to make the right reads, but then make a bad throw. Or he's going to have a bad read, but make a great throw. And it's important to kind of figure that out. And that's, to me, what's so great about someone like a Shane Steichen is because he's going to be able to hold Anthony Richardson accountable. Right? He's going to be able to hold him accountable in a way that not many other coaches will be able to do. And I think because of that, his development will, even though has limited time playing professional football, of course, his development shouldn't, to me, be all too delayed. I understand that we want to see him as a work in progress because he is, but the truth is, I am such a massive, firm believer in Shane Steichen that I really wholeheartedly believe we are going to know, is Anthony Richardson, is he him or not this season? As long as he stays healthy, of course. But I really believe it. I'm all for giving quarterbacks runway to develop and giving them time fully. And I do understand coming back from an injury is a legitimate concern. But I really think that Shane Steichen will have the ability to just really expedite this. I really, really do. And I think some of the little things that Anthony Richardson would need to work on, Shane will be able to take care of. Because it's going to be a balance between minimizing his weaknesses, but then also working on some of those weaknesses. Because some weaknesses a quarterback has, and this is why it can kind of take a minute or two to figure out what you're dealing with, is some weaknesses that a quarterback may have, sometimes it's something that they can fix, correct, or just strengthen a little bit. It'll still be their weakness, but it can still be strengthened, so it doesn't pull them down too hard. But there's also some weaknesses that every quarterback has that despite their best efforts, they can't just they just can't get better at it. They can't really reduce it in a way that makes it that measurable. So then the game plan is to minimize that, to hide that, to make sure that that doesn't become too much of an issue in key moments in games, right? Not every quarterback can do every single thing. So it's important to understand that. And to me, unfortunately, that's what Shane Steichen and Anthony Richardson, for that matter, got robbed from them. That explorational phase. I think they have some enough games and enough moments where they can kind of understand each other, but I think this is where that exploration will kind of happen during the season. So I think we're going to get a pretty strong picture of who Anthony Richardson is. And I think he's got potential to be a really great quarterback. I really, really do. When you have as many tools as he has and you link up with the Shane Steichen, I mean, you really, as he said, there's no limit. I forget, there's no ceiling, I think he said. And I can see why you could feel that way, because it's incredibly empowering when you have such a young, athletic, physical quarterback linked up with a coach who then is like, has it all up there, right? Because that's what you're trying to do. You're essentially taking Shane Steichen's brain and genius and implanting it into the quarterback. And it's just like, oh my God, it makes the game easier. It makes it more open. The opportunities are so much larger. And it really sets you up. It really can set you up for success. So, yeah, obviously this was, first 2 drives. It was such a limited sample size, but I think there was always going to be potential. There's always potential for a quarterback to show you who they are not in a preseason game. Right? They're not a leader. They're not confident. They are not accurate. They are shook. They are slow, right? And Anthony Richardson, you do not watch that game and think, oh man, did we make the right decision drafting him? Oh man, should we have just kept Gardner Minshew, right? You don't come away with that. And I've used this example a couple times in videos now. You watch Justin Fields with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and there's definitely some positive takeaways. Definitely some positives. No doubt about it. But you're like, he looked a little uneasy out there. Those fumble snaps. Was it on the center? Was it on him? Things felt a little too rushed and a little sporadic. The Steelers kind of need some clarity. They need to slow the game down, not speed it up. And same thing with Trey Lance. Saw Trey Lance out there, and you're like, there's some positive takeaways, but he looked really uncomfortable out there. He looked uneasy. He did not have his feet. He was not very accurate. Like, it was like, this guy's been around the block now for a few years. Like, he should be really, really comfortable. This should be like just easy for him. And it wasn't. It should be easy at this point for Justin Fields. It should be easy at this point for a Trey Lance. I'm not going to say that it should be easy for Anthony Richardson, but the fact that he didn't make it look difficult is a major, major green flag, at least to me. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Do you think you can kind of derive anything from Anthony Richardson and his very limited debut this season with the Indianapolis Colts? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.